Hey y'all, welcome to this kind of random episode. I got a request specifically to do a video on Exodus 21. Um, Trigger warning, this is going to cover some very difficult topics such as slavery and uh, killing and death, and it will be triggering to some. So if you are of weak constitution, I recommend you go find some of my other videos. I have some very lovely ones about the early sections of Genesis right now. It's called Figuring Out the Bible. I think you would love it. I'll give you a moment to click off and maybe go find that. Okay. Now that we've got the warnings out of the way and we've given time for people who didn't want to see this to see it, to leave anyway. Exodus 21. It outlines God's form of slavery, which actually is a very good thing. As usual, we took something very great and we perverted it and corrupted it into something horrible and wicked. So you're gonna see some clear contrast between slavery as we understand it today in our culture. I live in the Western world, obviously, so Western society, we think of slavery as take someone from their home and force them to live in horrible conditions and force them to work night and day. I'm thinking the South back in the early days of the United States. I'm thinking the Israelites and their time in Egypt, the Irish. They were enslaved and forced to work and all that kind of stuff for a while, and there was lots of craziness. Slavery's been horribly misused, but you'll see here that originally, I'm not going to say originally, but the way God the way it is laid out in the Levitical law, or in Exodus 21, it's actually a way to repay debts. It's a way to make atonement for your sins, and there are many restrictions, and it's actually quite easy to accidentally overstep, and they get to walk out free for no for no they get to walk free for free. There's anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's I'm going to handle this much like I do the Figuring Out the Bible series. Um, I'm gonna read the chapter in question, and then I'm gonna go through and talk about it. Um, so, without further ado, let the spice begin. Exodus 21, Laws about Slaves. Now these are the rules that you should set before them. This is God speaking. God has just given the Ten Commandments in chapter 20. And this is actually kind of in the middle of a monologue God is giving with many of his commandments. So the laws about slaves is coming off the tail end about laws about the sacrificial altars. How they're supposed to be made out of the earth and unhewn stones and so on and so forth. And then it drops into this. So God speaking. Now these are the rules that you should set before them. When you buy a Hebrew slave, he shall serve 6 years, and in the 7th he shall go free, for nothing. If he comes in single, he shall go out single. If he comes in married, then his wife shall go out with him. If his master gives him a wife, and she bears him sons or daughters, the wife and her children shall be her master's, and he shall go out alone. But if the slave plainly says, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will not go out free, then his master shall bring him to God, and he shall bring him to the door or doorpost, and his master shall bore his ear through with an awl, and he shall be his slave forever. When a man sells his daughter as a slave, she shall not go out as the male slaves do. If she does not please her master, who has designated her for himself, then he shall let her be redeemed. He shall have no right to sell her to a foreign people, since he has broken faith with her. If he designates her for his son, he shall deal with her as with a daughter. If he takes another wife to himself, he shall not diminish her food, her clothing, or her marital rights. And if he does not do these 3 things for her, she shall go out for nothing, without payment of money. Whoever strikes a man so that he dies shall be put to death. But if he did not lie in wait for him, but God let him fall into his hand, then I will appoint for you a place to which he may flee. But if a man willfully attacks another to kill him by cunning, you shall take him from my altar, that he may die. Whoever strikes his father or his mother shall be put to death. Whoever steals a man and sells him, and anyone found in possession of him, shall be put to death. Whoever curses his father or his mother shall be put to death. When men quarrel, and one strikes the other with a stone or with his fist, and the man does not die, but takes to his bed, if the man rises again and walks outdoors with his staff, he who struck him shall be clear. Only he shall pay for the loss of the man's time, and shall have him thoroughly healed. When a man strikes his slave, male or female, with a rod, and the slave dies under his hand, he shall be avenged. But if the slave survives a day or two, he is not to be avenged, for the slave is his money. When men strive together and hit a pregnant woman, that means when 2 men are fighting and hit a pregnant woman, so that her children come out, but there is no harm, that's miscarriage, but there is no harm to her. The one who hit her shall surely be fined, as the woman's husband shall impose on him, and he shall pay as the judges determine. But if there is harm, then you shall pay life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burn for burn, wound for wound, stripe for stripe. When a man strikes the eye of his slave, male or female, and destroys it, he shall let the slave go free because of his eye. And if he knocks out the tooth of his slave, male or female, he shall let the slave go free because of his tooth. When an ox gores a man or a woman to death, the ox shall be stoned, and its flesh shall not be eaten, but the owner of the ox shall not be liable. But if the ox has been accustomed to gore in the past, and its owner has been warned but has not kept it in, and it kills a man or a woman, the ox shall be stoned, and its owner also shall be put to death. If a ransom is imposed on him, then he shall give for the redemption of his life whatever is imposed on him. If it gores a man's son or daughter, he shall be dealt with according to the same rule. If the ox gores a slave, male or female, the owner shall give to their master 30 shekels of silver, and the ox shall be stoned. Laws about restitution. When a man opens a pit, or when a man digs a pit and does not cover it, and an ox or a donkey falls into it, the owner of the pit shall make restoration. He shall give money to its owner, and the dead beast shall be his. when one man's ox butts another's so that it dies, then they shall sell the live ox and share its price, and the dead beast also they shall share. Or if it is known that the ox has been accustomed to gore in the past, and its owner has not kept it in, he shall repay ox for ox, and the dead beast shall be his. So, yeah, that this one was really difficult to do. As you can imagine, there's lots of things that could very easily offend people, and I'm really, really trying to kind of tiptoe around this entire thing. But anyways, now comes the difficult part, trying to actually explain what I think this entire thing means. So I'm just gonna say it plainly. I'm just gonna put it out there, say it plainly, and yeah. Yes, the Bible did just endorse slavery with heavy rules, regulations, and slaves have rights. Like, they are cared for. The female slaves, they don't get set free like the male slaves do. But why is that? The male slaves, men as a whole, we are more expendable. That's why men go to war. Historically, that's why men do the dangerous jobs historically, because one man and 20 women can make a huge population, whereas one woman with 20 men, there's nothing really going to happen there. So it's all a numbers thing. Men are more expendable, therefore we get sent out. However, women are the fairer sex. They are the gentler sex. They are there to be cared for and cherished and loved and looked after. They take care of the home, yes, but we are supposed to take care of them. So the female slaves don't get to go out on the 7th year. They are pretty much lifelong slaves. But that's a good thing. That means that they have a stable home. That means that they will not go hungry as long as they serve their master well and all of that. They just don't get set loose. I mean, except for like one scenario, but even at that, they go back to their family. The men just off into the ether. The women go back to their family because they are supposed to be cared for. And it's not a sexism thing. It's just it's a sheer numbers thing. Women are more valuable as in the big picture. Men lead, men fight, men protect. We do all of that, but women produce the future. I've been talking about my Choctaw heritage a lot, and one thing about the Choctaw men is, well, Choctaw people were agricultural, okay? So a way to symbolize how much we respected our women, by the way, women led our society. When it came time to plant crops, men would till the earth and dig and prepare the field, but they would have nothing to do with actually sowing the crops. That would be left to the women, because women are the life bringers. We are supposed to cherish them. And like I said, one man with 20 women can make a huge population in just a couple generations. Like, but the other way around, so men are more expendable because we can produce more. So we get set loose to do whatever. Women go back to their family so they can be cared for continuously. Ideally, that's why there seems to be a discrepancy there. Yes, women, when they were sold into slavery for this reason, it was to make sure she stayed safe. There was, and then it doesn't say it here in chapter 21. I think it says it in chapter 22 or something, but there's another comment. There's another comment about how if you someone does something, then where was it? Oh well, we're just gonna skip that thought. Anyways, so now I'm just gonna go through sort of one commandment at a time, not verse by verse, but one commandment at a time, and we're gonna see, and I'll just give you my general thoughts. So, when you buy a Hebrew slave, he shall serve 6 years, and in the 7th he shall go out free for nothing. It doesn't say necessarily anything. It doesn't say anything in that statement about the non-Hebrew slaves. So it is, I don't know, maybe somewhere else it says that Gentile slaves are under a different code as far as that goes. But either way, we know that the rest of this chapter tells us that even the Gentile slaves would have been taken care of fairly decently. So, he should go out free for nothing. Basically, he's gonna take what he had in the 7th year. The man will be set loose, and he will take what he brought with him. If he brought a wife, he takes his wife. If he brought wife and kids, he takes his wife and kids. But if he is given a wife by his master, when he leaves, his master gets to keep the wife because she was already in his care. And obviously the kids would stay there too because they were born to 2 slaves of the master, so they would naturally be property of the master just the same. That was a mouthful. Okay. But if the slave plainly says, I love my master, I love my wife and my children, and I will not go out free. So that right there also would indicate that it was at least common enough for people to love their masters so much that they would want to serve them, that they would want to stay under their care and in their service for the rest of their life, or at least until that master died. And then they would get their ear they would get their ear bore through with the awl as a symbol that they are a perpetual slave. And I'd imagine they'd probably also put something to represent their master or something, like an earring or something. I don't know. When a man sells his daughter, yeah. So this is where when a man sells his daughter, she shall not go out free. That's because women are supposed to be cared for, just like I was talking about before. And if she doesn't live up to the hype, so to speak, with her master, then he can take her back to her father, get his money back, and she is redeemed and no longer in his care. If he decides that the woman is supposed to marry his son, then he will treat her as a daughter. Totally makes sense. Logical. Nothing really to say there. If he takes another wife, okay, so polygamy was a thing back then, not endorsed by God. Well, maybe it is. I don't know. Either way, Jesus says one man, one woman. We'll just stick with that, okay? Uh, but if he takes another wife, he won't diminish her for the sake of the new wife. So, she will still get everything she was getting before, the nice clothes, all the food she needs, the housing, blah, blah, blah. And the wife will receive, the new wife will receive the same. And if he doesn't do those things, then she gets to go free. So, ta-da! That's something I'd like to point out, is there's so many easy ways for your slaves to end up getting set loose. Like, your slave, I don't know, your slave steals something, and or your slave is going to hit you, or I don't know, you accidentally, you have a board and you accidentally turn and smack your slave by mistake and knock out their tooth. Boom, they're free. It's that simple. Like a stupid accident. Like you're working out in the fields or something, and you're pointing out like, okay, yeah, I need you to go over there, do this, and bam, you accidentally smack him in the face and knock out a tooth. Boom, you are there free. Like it's that simple. That section I just read about the woman, and if the man doesn't do these things, she gets set free. He needs to take care of her and provide for her, otherwise she gets to go free. Like, just free. It's that simple, that easy to end up setting your slave free. It is that easy. And this is the biblical slavery. The real slave, the real way slavery should be. It shouldn't be the horrible thing that we know of, that we experienced and saw in history. This is a whole different kind of thing. Anyways. And then, after it talks about slavery for a bit, it talks about what happens if you kill someone. Basically, if you meant to kill them, or they were killed because of your negligence, then you deserve to die too. Whoever strikes a man so that he dies shall be put to death. It's that simple. If you kill a human, you deserve to die. But there is some pliability to this law. Like, for example, if it's completely accidental, that and there was nothing, there was no malice, you didn't even realize it happened or something, like, I'll just whoever strikes a man so that he dies shall be put to death. But if he did not lie in wait for him, but God let him fall into his hand, then I will appoint for you a place to which he may flee. So, if you don't intentionally do it, and if you, or if like someone comes at you and you already, like, I'm just trying to kind of conceptualize this in my head, because some of these are kind of out there, but they also make sense. Like, for example, God saying he delivered them into your hands. Like, a lot of times when the Israelites would be victorious, they would say, our enemies have been delivered into our hands. So that's like saying we will conquer. So if, for example, if someone attacks you with lethal intent, and you end up being lethal right back at them and end up coming out on top, you, in the eyes of God, would be justified. They tried to kill you and you reacted to that. You did not have any intention to kill them, but you had to survive. So there is some lenience there. But if a man willfully attacks another to kill him by cunning, you shall take him from my altar that he may die. So, yeah. Again, if you intentionally kill someone through malevolence or negligence or whatever, you deserve to be put to death, according to the Bible right here. And frankly, I can see, I get it. If I was a judge and I came across someone who'd killed 5 different people, I mean, I'd go biblical on them. I'm not gonna lie. I would go biblical on them, because obviously each time they killed someone, they would have gone to prison, ideally. So obviously they're not learning their lesson, and they're gonna keep, if they've done it this many times unrepentantly and they show no signs of repentance, odds are they're gonna do it again in the future. So I'm effectively, so yes, I'd go biblical. Let them have it. Whoever strikes his father or his mother shall be put to death. Okay, I'm also going to read a couple others that go right along with this one. Whoever curses his father or his mother shall be put to death. There was one more, I think. No. Okay, so whoever strikes their parents or curses their parents shall be put to death. I hope that's an eye-opener for all of you, that shows that biblically it is very important to honor, respect, cherish, and protect the previous generations. Your parents, your grandparents, they are honored, valuable, cherished elders, and we are to treat them as such. We do not curse them. We do not act aggressively to them. We don't hurt them. We cherish and protect them, because they are the last link, the last living link to our past. They hold knowledge and stories and experiences that nobody in the modern day or any time in the future can even try to experience. There's so many things that they know and they've done and they've experienced that we will never even have a chance to do. So we are supposed to love and protect our parents and grandparents and great-grandparents and just elders in general. And then here's a major nail in the coffin for the slavery that we know of today. Whoever steals a man and sells him, and anyone found in possession of him, shall be put to death. So, first of all, kidnappers probably deserve to get put to death, according to this. It's very easily something that could include. Obviously, that would mean that, like Columbus, for example, biblically deserved to get put to death, because he legitimately kidnapped Native Americans and took them overseas. And this is something that actually happened a lot to the natives, is they would get kidnapped and taken elsewhere, or their kids would get taken and sold or adopted out in a lot of cases, And the those people who committed those atrocities, I agree, they deserve to be put to death. Every single one of them. No man should ever be kidnapped. No man should ever be taken away from their home like that. The type of slavery outlined in this chapter is not a forced servitude. It's a willing servitude. A servitude of atonement. A servitude of repayment. A servitude of loyalty and love. That is biblical slavery. And it's a beautiful thing. Homeless people would, like those homeless beggars that we hear about in the Bible, and frankly we see going out on the streets today. A lot of times they would find reasons to get themselves sold into slavery, because oftentimes they would find, well, in this culture anyway, I should say, they would seek to get themselves into slavery because it would mean a roof over your head, meals regularly, clothes on your back, and protection from all sorts of nasty stuff. So it's actually a very good thing. You know, make no mistake. Do I personally endorse slavery in any way, shape, or form? The type of slavery that my ancestors endured, my native ancestors, and I believe I also have some Irish ancestors, and obviously they were enslaved for also. And the type of slavery that my ancestors went through, no, absolutely not. No, never. I would happily watch every single one of those slavers die. But the type of slavery that God is talking about here, a slavery of redeemment, atonement, stability, comfort, love, loyalty, absolutely. That is a beautiful thing. If I found myself crazy in debt and I was told, you have the opportunity to come be this man's slave for 6 years and your debts are clean, your credit score is back up to a middle number, whatever. I don't really know how those work. Your credit score goes up to a decent number, whatever, and you get to gain some skills and have a purpose in life the whole time you do it. I'd sign up for that. I would happily be a slave that of this kind that is described here. I would happily be that kind of slave. And I would serve loyally, just like Joseph. I would happily do it. Enough said. Like, I'm just gonna leave that there. I do endorse God's form of slavery because it is a good, beneficial, and prosperous thing to do. However, the type of slavery we saw in the Americas, the Irish went through, my native ancestors went through, the Hebrews went through in Israel or Egypt. No, absolutely not. No, not in a million years. No, I would love to see every single one of them dead. The slavers, I mean. wow, this one really went off the rails. Anyways, if two men fight, and one of them gets hurt, gets bedridden for a bit, but he survives, he makes a recovery. The guy who hurt him, yeah, pay for his lost time, pay restitution, absolutely. When a man strikes a slave with a rod and the slave dies under his hand, he shall be avenged. But if the slave survives a day or two, he is not to be avenged, for the slave is his money. So, again, that's a lesson in restraint with your slaves, and that is also a recognition that slaves, they have rights, but they are still property at the end of the day, and that is to be recognized. When men strive or fight together and cause a woman to miscarry, but she is not injured, other than that, then they are to pay whatever restitution or whatever the husband demands, and obviously he's going to consult his wife, so it's really whatever restitution they demand, and he will pay whatever fine the judges demand. Or in this case, it says, I think, God. But if they fight and hit a woman and there is damage, she loses an eye or an arm, or the baby ends up coming out deformed, missing an arm, or with a smashed in face or something. That's where we get that. That's one of the places we get that famous thing, pay life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burn for burn, wound for wound, stripe for stripe. It's yeah. So, let the punishment fit the crime. It's basically what that means. When the man strikes the eye of his slave, or male or female, and destroys it, the slave shall be set free. If he knocks out the tooth of his slave, they shall be set free because of the eye or tooth. So basically, if you maim or mutilate your slaves in any way, they get to go free. Just boom. Like I said, it could be something as simple as, hey, go get, bam, knock out his tooth. He's free. It's that simple. It completely by accident, you could end up setting your slave free. So yeah.